Anyway, thanks so much for joining us, Karen. And she is going to give us the Bhauji's biography of this amazing man who has been everywhere and done everything. So thanks, Karen. We'll turn it
My
over.
pleasure. Jai Meher Baba. We were so fortunate to have so much of Bau's attention from the West and all his visits. So I'm just going to begin with his very early days. Bhau Kalchuri was born on January 13th, 1927, one of 8 children to a well-to-do Rajput family in Katani in the Balgat district of Madhya Pradesh. When Bhau was 10 years old, his father sent him to a district school for a better education. He excelled in all his studies and attended Nagpur University, completing master's degrees in public administration, law, and chemistry. Before he could realize his career plans, Bhau unexpectedly turned to spiritual interests following a visit to the tomb of Tajuddin Baba in Nagpur and visits to other ashrams. How he met Meher Baba. Bhau read in the newspaper that Baba would be coming to Nagpur and giving darshan on December 31st, 1952 in Soner, where his sister lived. Bhau decided to go for Baba's darshan. He brought along his wife Rama and his 7-month-old daughter Sheela. Without looking at Bhau, Baba handed him a banana as prasad. Bhau ate the banana, skin and all. On January 1st, 1953, Bhau attended Baba's darshan again. Again, Baba gave him a banana, which he ate, skin and all. Bhau requested a meeting with Baba. That's what he really, really wanted. On Sunday, January 4th, which is 3 days later of the same year, 1953, Bhau read an article in the Nagpur Times of a program that was to be held in the Gita temple. As before, he made inquiries as to how to have an interview with Baba. One of Baba's early disciples informed Baba about Bhau, and Bhau was granted an interview. Meher Baba told Bhau to finish his exams and then come to him. His wife Rama did not interfere with Bhau's decision. Bhau passed his college master's examination and came to Missouri from Nagpur. Baba asked, "Are you firm in your resolve to stay with me?" Bhau replied, "I am quite firm. That is why I have come." Baba said, "I am extremely pleased. In the darshan programs, there were innumerable fishes, but only one was caught." And this is a story of how Bhau arrived to stay permanently with Baba, and Baba had him go to the men mandali and say, "You fools, keep silence after 9 o'clock." According to Baba's order, Bhau came to Dehradun to stay with him permanently on Wednesday, July 8th, 1953. Bhau was a newcomer and the youngest of the men mandali at age 27. Some of the older members had been with Baba since the 20s. Baba explained to him, "The first order I am giving you is to visit the rooms of the mandali every night and say loudly, 'You fools, keep silence after 9 o'clock.'" Soon after sunset, Bhau became very nervous. At last it was 9 p.m., and he started out on his sadhana. He went to every room and hesitatingly did as Baba had ordered. Nothing happened by his repeating the statement. The men thought it was a joke and enjoyed it, though they did not know it was Baba's order. But when he came to Kaikobad's room, Bao saw that Kaikobad was silently praying. Bao opened the door and shouted, "You fool, keep silence after 9 o'clock." Kaikobad turned to Bao with a mingled look of surprise and anger, but his duty being over, Bao hurriedly slipped away. The next day, Kaikobad told Vishnu, "This Bao is an absolutely rude chap. Last night, when I was praying in my room, he quietly opened my door, came in and said, 'You fool, keep silence after 9 o'clock.' Of course, I was already silent." "He said the same thing to me," said Vishnu. "He's new and we should forget all about it." Kaikobad continued, "He has a master's degree, but still he is quite a fool, and he has no manners." The second night, Bao also repeated Papa's order again, disturbing Kaikobad in his prayer. What could Bao do? It was his act of prayer, and he had to do it. Kaikobad, though, again complained to Baba, who withdrew the order. Meanwhile, Bao was assigned the duties of handling Hindi correspondence, night watch for a few days, looking after Isa, the troublesome sweeper's son, and most importantly, attending to Nanga Mast. Bao had no idea, no concept whatsoever of what a mast was. 4 days after Bao's arrival in Dehradun, this mast walked more than 62 miles to Dehradun. Seeing him on the road, Elcha Mistry informed Baba he was about a mile away, and Baba sent a car to bring him. When he came, Baba ordered Bao, "Serve this must, attend to all his wants, and look after him well." Bao had never seen a must before and was not quite sure what Baba saw in him. All Baba could see was a man completely naked, with thick matted hair covered from head to foot with years of dirt from never washing. After bathing Nanga Mast, Baba showed Bao the room where the must was to be kept. He was like a Majzub, mostly unconscious of his body, though he was often seen wandering about. Bao had a very difficult time understanding and caring for this must. One day, the must told him he would pass his college exams. The next day, a telegram arrived telling Bao he had passed his exams. Another night, Bao was sitting by the must when he said, "You will have a son." Bao's wife, Rama, was still in Nagpur and pregnant. 4 months later, Bao received a telegram that his son Mehernath had been born. Bao thought the must to be insane, but one day, when the must spoke about the greatness of Baba, Bao's eyes were opened. He realized the must was not a madman, but a man who loved God. And so on October 22nd, 1953, Baba said to Bao, "I am born today." And after embracing Bao first, he called and embraced each of the mandali and distributed sweets. No one understood the meaning of Baba's statement until that evening, when a telegram was received from Nagpur that Bao's wife Rama had given birth to a son. Baba himself named the boy Mehernath, Meher's Prince, Lord of Mercy, and revealed to Bao he was one of his old disciples come back. Okay, here's another story of how Bao became fool number 9. In February 1954, Baba had Kumar make the mandali and the Hamirpur workers stand in a row outside in an open space. Baba came out of the dharamshala and instructed those standing in line to count off as follows: "I am fool number 1, I am fool number 2, etc., and so on until fool number 80. At the end, Baba joked, "Last night I had to sleep with 80 fools, so you can imagine my condition." As the years unfolded in future correspondence, those who had stood in line that day would sign their letters fool number 5 or whatever their number was. Bao was fool number 9. Um, Baba had Bhau care for several men who had a lower standing than Bhau had. And Baba had Bhau work with them as though he were a servant of these individuals. Isa was one of these. Bhau had to bring his food, clear the table on his plate, make his bed, and do whatever he demanded. It was Baba's order that he be kept pleased and treated as gently as a flower. Then for 3 months, Baba sent him back to Madhya Pradesh, which was really where his family was, and had him give talks on Baba. The Baba dictated God Speaks to Erich, who completed his writing work in July 1955. Bhau returned from Madhya Pradesh at the beginning of July. Baba had Bhau organize the material in God Speaks into chapters and get the manuscript typed. A local typist was hired who worked 8 hours a day. Bhau would read the material to him as he typed. The manuscript was completed in a week or so. And then came Ishmael, another one that Bhau cared for as a servant. And there was also Krishnaji. And these were very difficult for Bhau. But he completed these orders just as Baba had requested. In 1956, Baba underwent the accident in Uttara, near Satara. During this time, Bhau was the night watchman and he wrote letters for Baba. In 1956, Baba, Erich Pendu, and Dr. Nilu suffered the car accident there. Bhau sent for the civil servant, Dr. Abedin. Bhau and Alaba took Erich and Pendu to the civil hospital by ambulance. Baba was also taken there. Bhau and Alaba attended to Erich and Pendu day and night in the hospital. The entire staff was amazed with their heartfelt expression of love and devotion to Baba and to Erich and Pendu. Bhau would go to Pune every Sunday to receive instructions concerning the Mandali recovering in Satara and report to Baba about their condition. He would return to Satara the same evening to look after Erich and Pendu. He was exhausted. Also, in June, the next year of 1957, while Bhau had been staying with Baba for 4 years, Baba had Bhau's wife Rama, his 5-year-old daughter Sheela, and his infant son Mehernath come to live near Bhau at the family quarters near Meherabad, where Mera's mother Daulat Mai and Mera's aunt Frani Masi had lived previously. Writing for Baba. This was really one of the most important areas that Bhau worked on for a long, long time to please Baba, and he did. Bhau was translating some discourses of Baba's into Hindi. He thought to put the whole book in dialogue form to make it more interesting. Baba was quite pleased. He also suggested songs and a prayer should be included. And this was how You Alone Exist came to be. He found the couplet, made it in the first couplet of the ghazal, and composed 11 more to go with it. Baba listened, but said it should be longer. So Baba began composing new couplets, which Bhau wrote down. Sitting on his bed, Baba dictated 17 more couplets, and the poetic prayer, God, You Alone Exist, came into being. In a later period, Baba stated that one day this would be prayed by people in their homes throughout the world. The book, The Everything and the Nothing. Bhau completed the translation and commentary of the Everything and Nothing into Hindi As Baba wished, he had rewritten and expanded the book in the form of conversation and songs. It became a longer book, and after they returned to Meherabad, Baba would listen daily and read a portion of it aloud in the hall. After Baba read the entire book, he called Keshav Nigam and Pukar from Hamirpur for 2 days. They arrived, and Baba directed Keshav to have the book printed. Bhau wrote an arti that is sung in the at the Samadhi, along with some of the other artis. Adi Sachetana. Baba's 73rd birthday was celebrated on Saturday, February 1969 at Meherabad. Bhau recited his arti in Hindi. Adi Sachetana, meaning the primordial consciousness. Without any formal training, but according to Baba's orders and instructions, Bhau completed volumes of mystical poetry, plays, essays, and Lord Meher. Points for the nothing and the everything were dictated to Bhau by Baba in 1967 and 1968. One day in mid-November 1967, Baba asked Bhau to write ghazals. Bhau replied, "Baba, it is not possible to write ghazals in Hindi. They can only be written in Urdu or Persian." Baba said, "I taught Ghani to write ghazals, and I will also teach you, but first try." So Bhau tried and wrote almost 200 songs in ghazal form, which were later entitled in a book, The Song of Meher. Baba liked them, but noted, "These are songs, not ghazals. I will teach you when we are in Guru Prasad next summer." In the meantime, waiting to be taught these things, Baba instructed Bhau to translate Dr. Donkin's book, The Wayfarers, into Hindi, and Bhau began this work. Baba had actually paved the way for Bhau to write ghazals 7 years before, when he dictated 2 ghazals in Hindi to him in 1960. But at that time, Bhau never thought Baba would ask him to compose them. And then Baba complimented him, "You have written with all your heart, and the songs are good, but I want you to write ghazals. I will teach you. I'm going to give you one line, and I want you to repeat it to the rhythm. I will beat on my thighs." Baba's first line was, "Now my heart is terrified, even to hear the name of love." It was difficult for Bhau at first, but eventually he got it. Bhau composed the first ghazal and what was to become the book of poetry titled by Baba, Meher Sarod, the Song of Meher. Baba was pleased. He embraced Bhau and assured him, "Yes, this is what I want. Now I will continue giving you one line or so every day, and you should go on composing in this way." Every day for 2 months, Baba would give Bhau 1 or 2 lines or give Bhau lines. And Baba would often embrace Bhau, kiss him, and gesture, "Do you know, have you any idea what you have written? How touching it is. You have no idea what you have written. Your writing just flows. It flows like a river." They were translated from Hindi by Bhau during 1979. Baba gave Bhau poetic couplets and ghazals. Bhau remembered the last line Baba dictated to him on January 30th, 1969. "What will we do living when you have gone away?" And Bhau composed a ghazal on it titled, "When You Have Gone Away." And then Lord Meher came into being, the biography of Meher Baba in Hindi and then in English. Baba asked Bhau if he had spoken with Keshav Nigam from Hamirpur. Bhau said yes. He said, "There's a need for your biography in Hindi." Baba said, "Yes, Keshav is right. Why don't you write it?" No more was said at this time, since Bhau was busy answering Baba's correspondence. During Bhao's night watch on the night of January 24th, 1969, Baba gestured to him. Listen carefully to what I say. I am giving you very important work. I want you to write my biography in verse. Write 800 pages. Write in a simple and engaging way. Make it interactive and interesting. Use 4 types of meters. Include the lives of the perfect masters at the beginning and also my father's life. Always remember that I like your writing very much. Val later recounted and said, it was his wish that I write it, and by doing so, I have fulfilled his last orders to me. Bhau began to write the biography in prose in 1971, Meher Prabhu, in 7 months. It was translated into English as Lord Meher. Bhau also wrote The Nothing and the Everything, based on notes given to him by Bhau. He wrote plays, books of verse, other books in Hindi and in English. In 1973, Bhau became a trustee of the Avatar Meher Baba Perpetual Public Charitable Trust. He later became its chairman and continued in this capacity until the end of his life. Starting in 1985, Bhau made extensive speaking tours inside and outside India. He visited the US, Europe, and Australia. He was interviewed in both press and radio and appeared in a film, The Nature of Existence. Due to poor health near the end of his life, he continued to keep in touch with the worldwide Baba community with internet chats and messages. This leaves us with a treasury of memories of dear Bhauji and time spent with him. On Wednesday, October 23rd, 2013, at 11:17 p.m., Bhau passed to Baba at Jahangir Hospital ICU in Pune, attended by his wife Rama, children Sheela and Mehernath, and very close family. He was 87 years old. Bhau was the last remaining member of Baba's Meherabad resident men Mandali. Bhau was buried in the Men Mandali Cemetery at Lower Meherabad. And here's what was said about Bhau. Bhau is MA and Bachelor of Science. Even in his dreams, he shouts my name, although he himself does not know about it. So great is his love for me. Jai Baba.
That was superb, Karen. Wow, what, what a life to try and and document. Thank you so much, Karen.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Um, I don't have a video, I'm sorry to say, of Bauji. Ruthie is she's the master at that, and um, but I certainly do have personal memories, as most of us Westerners do, because he really was, I felt, the Mandali for the West. He was our man. He was here year after year visiting, and he just was so available to us. Let me check. Let's see. Sorry, let me unspotlight you and uh oh, okay. Huh. Mm, there's not sure why I'm not getting you unspotlighted. Uh, are you able to hear me okay?
Yes, not now.
I invite all of you to share memories. Um, and maybe I'll start off with my own. Um, uh, my family went to India in 1987 altogether, and Bhauji at that time took an amazing interest in particularly Dave, my husband Dave and I were having some trouble for sure, and he made every other effort to patch it up. he um, he um, he named us the Lemons. We were the Lowmans. He said, "No, not Lowman, Lemon." And he well, at one point, Dave, I should go back some. Dave, my husband, he was one thing in a neck brace, and being in India was uh, he wasn't quite a Baba lover yet, so it was a bit uncomfortable for him. And at so at one point he got kind of was so fed up that he said, "Go tell Bao I want a divorce." And I said, "Great, all right, I'll tell him." And so I did. And Bao said, um, "Well," he said, "what do you want?" And uh, though I would have said that's exactly what I want. I didn't. I said, "I want what Baba wants, Sai." And he said, uh, and he just nodded, and then he spent every opportunity, anytime he was with us, he would say, "Mummy and Daddy, la Mummy and Daddy," and he'd hug us. I want lots of hugs and kisses, he would say. He took a tremendous interest in our relationship, and I think by the end of our stay, there was no way that a divorce was going to happen. Um, and he was always a very dear friend to us. And Dave did definitely come to Baba, and he loved Bao as I did. He was so um, so that's that Bao certainly took an interest in our life. Um, uh, I don't know. Anybody else have a memory to share?
Maybe you could tell a little bit about the times Val stayed at your house, what that was like, or stories from there.
Well, actually, when he stayed at Baba House, it wasn't our house. The Wilsons, Jim and Jean Wilson, were the proprietors there. So although I was there with him, um, he, I wasn't in on the. I was just a guest, like he was. They had wonderful sahabasas at their place. It was like summer camp outs. We'd maybe oh 60, 70 of us would camp on their 3-acre property, and Bauji would hold forth. Uh, s- um, so so I didn't get kind of the inside scoop on how it was. Bauji always had a group of the mummies. It was the ladies pretty much, with maybe Linwood Sawyer, and there were other men who kind of attended to him. He had such medical needs. So, so uh, they kind of stayed close to him and took care of him while in the house while he was there. Um,
Many people would be there.
Pardon?
Everyone stayed. No one stayed in motels. People stayed on the premises there at the house. There, how
Pretty much. Uh-huh. Yeah.
big
It
yard? About must have had a huge yard.
had 3 acres. Yeah. And people camped on the property, and yeah, and so it was yeah, so they ate and slept, and pretty much everybody stayed there. It was
Okay,
wonderful.
south. spend the meals for themselves, or
Oh no, we cooked. We cooked in the kitchen in the house and served everybody. And yeah.
and
So
Val stayed in the house
yes,
too?
he did. Uh-huh. And he'd invite different people in. So many of us got a turn to sit at the table with Val and have, breakfast or lunch or yeah, or dinner.
Everyone stayed right there. And how long would that?
A weekend. It was a long weekend, Friday night through, oh, it was marvelous through Sunday afternoon. Uh-huh. We had a toddy shop and with chai going, and in the evenings there would be music. And uh, uh, oh, great. Jim Wilson built a beautiful stage. So there was a real performance happening when
Over the years, how many times did that occur, Betty? Do you remember?
I'm going to say three or four. There was one special time when we had just had an earthquake. There was this fault called the Scotts Mills Fault. We lived in the town of Scotts Mills. They lived at that time, and uh, so Ryman wrote a song, Wake Up, Portland." How did it go? uh, Wake up, Portland, wake up. And then she took it to all the various other towns, and so every town. The idea was that the earthquake was to wake us up. And previous to that, there's a story about
Remember that song? Yeah.
yeah,
I think
uh-huh,
there were some, the Zoom hadn't hit the scene back then, but broadcasts, podcast,
chats. We called them chats, and
yeah,
it was typed. It was typed. Um,
yeah.
Back and forth between, yeah.
But it got to where video was part of the deal. That some, I don't know if that, yeah. Do you know remember the last year that occurred?
Boy, I sure don't. It went from chat, yeah. And I don't remember too much. Zoom, you're right. Zoom wasn't. No, I don't. I don't.
When did you and Dave come and purchase the house? Purchase,
In 2008.
hey,
Yeah.
and
Mhm.
Mal did not come after '08. I thought he did. I thought I recalled him being there after '08.
Not at Baba House, Oregon. I don't know when he stopped I mean, his health, he declined to where he couldn't make those big travels. I wanted to tell you one story. There's a nice bow story about the pond at Baba House. It had been dry for quite a while. It was just a pond bed and it was the first year Bao was there, which might have been that same earth. It was after the earthquake. I think that's right. So uh, Jim and Jean were walking the property with Bao and said, Bao, where should we have the dooney? Um, and so he took a stick and he said, right in the pond bed. He said, here, right in the dry pond bed. So they did. They had a dooney in the pond bed the first year. And then after Sahabas, uh, Jim and Jean were walking their property and said, Jim said, Jean, come here. And there was water trickling in this dry pond bed. And since then, the water, the water had, it filled up after some
Is
years.
it still got water in it?
Pardon?
Continue to have water
Yes, it did. Uh-huh. Yeah.
even now?
Yeah. Yeah.
Really?
So, yeah, and my theory is that the water for that pond it trickles from a hillside. I mean, from uh, and into a spring. That maybe that earthquake had jiggled things a bit and gotten the water going, but people like to think of it as a miracle. I don't know. It happened anyway, and it's still a wet pond. Yeah. Did you have any Bhau experiences, Ralph?
Just I know Bao gave of himself. You felt almost too comfortable with him. You might say something you wish you hadn't said, but out of bad habits, something like that. And he was inspiring him.
Mm.
Very loving. Like you say, he was, but he really brought Baba to the heart, to people's hearts. Bao suffered, and we saw him suffering. It was evident. He tried to, he made himself available to that extent to where he wanted the world at large through the media. He was able to let you watch him suffer, see how he suffered. Sometimes couldn't finish a chant, he might just pass out, go unconscious.
He was it was very important to him. Well, actually, he I would say was the energy behind the Mehernath starting. The center out in the California foothills near Yosemite. Um, after oopsie, I've got a dog and a cat fighting here next to me. Sorry. Uh, um.
Betty, are you not looking at hands raised?
Oh, I'm sorry.
You should check the chance. I've had it up for some time.
Sorry. Please go ahead.
Yeah. Well, many things. I mean, I was, of course, very into singing Koali with John Connor. So anytime Bhau would come to Los Angeles, and he came there for John's parents were there for one thing, and that was wonderful for John to make that connection. But although I see his wonderful brotherhood with many Baba lovers, mine was rather, I won't even say abrasive, but when he saw me here in Myrtle Beach and he says, "Are you still here?" That was his greeting to me. And I didn't appreciate it, but that was his greeting. But I will tell about this incident it was after a Sahabas that Bhau was at. And we were all at Jaco Caraco's his parents' huge living room. And we were singing Koali for maybe an hour and a half. And he loved Koali. He's like a poet. And when the singing was over, Bhau, with all his physical maladies, discomforts, I swear, I turned around, people got up and were dancing. They were dancing, not like I'm thinking I'm going to dance, but the energy was dancing. And I turn around and I see Bhau springing up and down like a spring. I tell you, he was springing up and down. He was leaving the floor. And that was I thought, this is the mandali that swallowed the prasad whole, the banana. I thought, this is the same person, and it wasn't a surprise to me to see him springing like that if you swallow a banana whole, even though, Baba gave it to him, but a lot of people would have peeled it. He didn't peel it. I will use a play of words. It appealed to him so much to get this prasad that he swallowed the whole thing. I mean, that is like out there. But I remember friends where he would write personal letters and it meant so much to these friends. But myself, I would always go, like when Belle came to the barn in Myrtle Beach, I wouldn't miss it because I got to share in the energy and Koali. But I personally, I was a little put off by his, it was a whole thing of changing people's names, Mother Divine or whatever his names were. I mean, that was my reaction. And um, to me, that part felt excluding. And that I didn't appreciate because, the barn energy is, it's so Baba, the barn energy that, but anyway, I felt more a spectator, than included. But I also, I think back that he would always greet me like, "Are you still here?" And it's very interesting because it's not like I'm delighted to live in South Carolina, but I know Baba moved me here, and it was 26 years ago now. And I remember a friend saying, "You live in Myrtle, I would never live in Myrtle Beach. It's too close to the fire." And I'm starting to see what he meant. Although Baba's fire in us, wherever we go, it's there. But I don't know, there's something about Myrtle Beach now. And but I would say, as Mandalay, he was not, he was, each one of them was so individual. And as Bhau was, as Padre was, beyond all of those, Mera to me was just like Baba, female side of Baba, just and for her to say, and I remember asking Bhau a question in the barn, and his answers were also circumvented the universe. Would you ever get a straight answer from Bhau? No, but he might hit upon something in this incredible cosmic journey. He's talking about Baba. But I remember asking him something about Mera. Boy, he wouldn't go there because the Mandalay were kept so separate from Mera that I would almost call it a shyness. We don't talk about it. He didn't say we don't talk about it, but he didn't talk about it. So my question went, poof, that's right. So that told me something about, how it was maybe back then. They treated the men differently. We kept the women, especially Merit, until a year before they got to greet her. That was, yeah. And I would say for the times I went to India, the early times, like in 76, I don't remember seeing Bhau, but I remember he was writing and writing and writing. He was doing Lord Mayor. So that was astounding. He had this job and nothing would stop him. Just like learning poetry. And he says, no, it has to be in Urdu. And Baba went, I'll show you. So he was a Mandala, so the Baba pressed to the limits. And I admire his, that he just hung in there because, he was a young Mandali compared to the elders. And then Baba puts him in that position of or giving them orders, time, lights out, or whatever that order was. And to go against coming into, he was a latecomer into the Mandali. He was pretty fearless to do things that Baba told him to do. Just so I think when he went out in the world and traveled around, he was like totally fearless of what he would meet. He was like truly a warrior.
Mm.
And he was really the last one that Baba sent out to humanity, and not within, I mean, we would have wanted Eris to come. He wasn't coming. He had orders to always take care of Mera and Mani. He's not going anywhere, But Bhau, he was brave. He had all these physical ailments that you could write a litany of his physical ailments, and then the dogs attacked him that time. I mean, it was like, wow, Bhau. And then he's being operated on, and he wakes up. I mean, it's like Bhau Kalchuri. Anyway, he was a blessing as a Mandali, and we take the Mandali the way we take them. But I would say now, no Mandali. So whatever they said, look to Baba. They always said, look to Baba. And boy, are we looking within. Oneness is rest in being. Oneness is rest in being. Jai Baba. And Karen, as always, thank you for repeating the life of this man, this Mandali. Yeah.
That was a wonderful.
It's always a joy to remember these things. Jai Baba.
You bring him back, Rosalie. I know. Well, Jonathan, you have something to say?
Yeah, I could say a couple of things that came to mind. One was when I first experienced, Bhau coming to the center. I was doing videos of the meetings, and I just felt that all of his talk should be videoed. So I'm not sure when it started. It was certainly in 2000. I'm not sure whether I did it before then or not, but all his talks in the barn and in the meeting place, we recorded all of them. There are just some incredible interactions, particularly in the barn. I don't know how many times we have Walter singing,
Mayor Baba Godman.
Yeah, Mayor Baba Godman, and just interactions with people is really priceless. Anyway, one of my experiences that I got, because I heard him so many times tell the same stories, and of course in different ways and different things, and also when people would ask questions to try and pin him down. Now, obviously, he's a very intelligent man, but everything was designed to totally short circuit people's intellect. And let's see. And then the other thing was when I initially went up to meet him. I was married to Kendra at the time, and Kendra was universal center, because Kendra means center, like Avatar Maya Baba Kendra. And so he would greet her so warmly and about this universal center. And when he came up to me, but it was just expressionless, and I almost, or that was the way I felt it, and so I greet him and exchange a hug and everything. And but he didn't have any name at that time. So I later kind of felt he was like a mirror. He was just being a mirror, revealing something about maybe my detachment or whatever. I don't know what it was, but it made a big impression because this was year after year. And then I don't know when he did give me a name at one point, But one thing that was
What was
significant
it?
was,
Yeah, what was it?
I think
re-
my name was, are you still here? Because I questioned Baba putting me here 26 years now. Now I've given in. I thought, okay, Baba, I'm here because you want me here. That's why.
it's- I think,
What
well,
was it?
the name he gave was Shri 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 1008 Jonathan G. Maharaj. And it was kind of paired with John Dennison because he had given, I almost thought that the people that got the 13333 1008 were the people that were sticking with their marriage or something like that. You know, I don't know what it was. Be that as it may, that was my hand. But what happened
But
was
it's like a tongue twister. You couldn't say it fast 3 times. Shik.
he came one time and was going to he would do plays when he came to Myrtle Beach often. And so he did one with John Dennison where they had a boxing match. Like they had originally done the boxing match out in at the Sahavas,
In
the LA
LA.
Sahavas,
Yeah.
with
Jeff McGuire.
but Gigi
Fred
Stankus. Fred
Oh,
Stankus
yeah.
was, you know, do the box. So anyway, he did this first boxing match, and it was really quite an incredible thing. And Jeff was the referee, Walter was the trainer, the guy out in the other trainer, what was it? He was a tennis player. I can't think of his name right now. He passed away. A really funny guy. And anyway, so I recorded this on a Saturday. The play was done on a Saturday, and Bhau wanted a video, a copy of the video. So on Sunday, I edited the video, and he also added John's wife Anita had taken pictures, and they had all turned out triple images or fuzzy or this thing. And he says, I want these to be incorporated into the video. And so I found this guzzle, which I can't remember what it was, but it worked out. I was able to.
Bhau guzzle?
No, it was by this, I can't remember the name of it, but it's a beautiful guzzle. And so that played in the background as these photos. They got incorporated into the video anyway. And so I got it to him just before he left. He left early Monday morning. And then he went and showed that video every center he went to. Because he was making a big point of how important Mayor Spiritual Center was as a place of, you know, Baba's presence here, you know. Anyway, so I guess that when it all boils down to it, what I liked most about Bhau was, I mean, his genuine interest in everybody, but how he just short-circuited the intellect. It was somebody that had a great intellect that just said, it's only heart, folks.
Yeah.
Jai Baba.
Yeah. I have to say, I appreciate that. He did short circuit in his talks. They were, you know, and he gave one in LA, and I loved it because that song had come out. What if God's one of us?
Oh,
It's a great song, and he gave a talk at that time. I still have the flyer from it. If I could, and I'd show you because it says, could God be one of us? You know, it's so beautiful because they were feeling it. You know, humanity was feeling something going on, and which we're still feeling that country-wise, worldwide, something's going on. Yeah.
we'll have to revive that song. I remember it now, Rosalie. That was what a great
What
notion.
if God, yeah, what if God were one of us? Maybe Ron, you remember that song?
Ron's not here anymore.
Ron,
Ron Green's,
you're
you're
muted.
muted. You're muted.
You're muted.
Vaguely, I do remember a song like that, but not well enough to remember the words and stuff.
Right. But I mean, I just thought, what a perfect song. It's like he's around, he's doing all this through us.
I was starting to tell the story of Mehernath, which was he was so instrumental in that happening. He if I can tell the story, he Chrissy told me pretty much, the chronology of things. It was after an LA Sahabas, and Bhauji, he loved the LA Sahabas. He loved the LA people. It was like his home base, kind of. I mean, we felt that way anyway. Maybe every other group did too. But
Except Betty,
yeah,
the people when they call, I don't know who started it, they called it Bhau stock instead of Sahabas, that we go there. And boy, there was like a revolutionary back of that. They had to change it back to Sahabas.
oh, you mean the LA Sahabas was called Baustock? I never was taught.
No.
Well, someone initiated. Maybe Karen knows. Her hand is up. Is your hand up, Karen?
Yes.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay, so my understanding, can you all hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, my understanding is that after one of the LA Sahavases, all you people in LA came up to Chris and Christie's family property in Mariposa,
But
which
it
was an Italian something road.
Right.
And yeah, and that was the first Baustock, and that was just the LA people. The next year, all were invited. So we came down from Northern Cap, from the Bay Area. So the Bay Area group joined the LA people, and there were so many people there, and so much went on, and it was just too much for their property, which wasn't small, but this was just too much. So at that time, this is my understanding, Val told them to start looking for a place. And that's when they found Mehernath. So there were two Baustocks in a row, one after the next each year. Ron, you may have been there with your family. Christie's,
I went once, I think.
yeah, that was the one time that we came from Northern California.
Well, one thing I wanted to add was that Christy said that it was after an LA Sahabas, everybody, the afterglow, Bao, and Bao
Mhm.
said, isn't there anywhere else where and
Right.
could all be together? And so she thought, well, we have a half-built cabin up in Mariposa, and that was and they all went up there, and it was Silence Day. The Sahabas was always around the 4th of July, and it was called the Silence Day Sahabas. This is now the LA Sahabas. So on Silence Day, I think there were that first Sahabas, there were maybe 3 or 4 cars caravaned, went from Mariposa, where the Pearson's cabin, silently all drove into the national park, Yosemite, which was just an hour away, and all of them silent, all of them kind of nodding to whatever the ticket taker, and proceeded on, and then they all I know had a picnic around the Merced River there, and Bhauji wrote a guzzle, all silence. The whole day was silence for all.
Yeah, I remember that.
You do you?
Oh yeah, I remember that. And I remember a Baba lover named Randy, and he was in the lake, where it was a body of water in Yosemite, and he was saying he was digging for aqua dish, like Muhammad used to dig for dish, along the ground. And I thought that was the funniest thing, aqua dish. I thought, wow. But it was Silence Day, and it was wonderful. Silence Day is always so charged. It's like you can't say anything, but you certainly can reflect Silence Day. It's just such a joy and such a giving that Baba gives us to have that day. Wow.
By the way, since you brought up Silence Day, just yesterday, or this morning actually, it dawned on me that coming up in July is going to be the 100th anniversary of Baba starting his silence.
Wow.
That's
Wow.
great. That's
Wow.
great.
100 years.
Good,
Kind of a nice round number.
good eye, Ron.
I like those round numbers.
Yeah, right, right.
Plenty of
Well,
knowledge
I
should be-
mean, Bao was a round Mandali.
Yeah.
He was so huggable. He was just round, and you wanted him to embrace you. Yeah.
Betty, you started a story about the Bhau stock. Didn't
Yeah, Mehernath. Well, but just Bau's energy was tremendously behind Mehernath, always.
Oh yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
Hearing the word right, it's STOCK.
right. Like
Yeah.
Woodstock, only Bau stock. Yeah, yeah. And that refers just to the campouts at the Pearsons. That's how I see it. Which I thought there were at least a couple of
Two.
years. Two, yeah. Yeah. It's nice to
Who had that idea? What does the word stock?
well,
I know in live theater, the word stock has a role, is involved in their world. In that somehow. Stock.
Yeah, Baba's stockiness, Ralph.
well, I think which is it's a play on
Lock, stock,
Woodstock.
lock,
Yeah.
stock, and barrel.
Say that.
It's a play on Woodstock,
Oh.
Ralph. It's a play on Woodstock.
Oh,
Yeah.
When everybody went up to
Yeah.
the rock concert in Woodstock, it's a play
Yeah.
on that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
okay. Yeah.
And Bao was always interested. All of the whole, the land. Oh, that story is an interesting story. Christy worked with a realtor, and and pretty much the Bay Area group, I guess others too, had been meeting very regularly and with dedication to try and not decide what to buy and also bylaws, and there was a lot of work. Would you say, Ron? I wasn't involved with it, but I admired all the dedicated people who met regularly and earnestly to find the land. And then one day, really, it happened fast. Christy was working with a realtor, and this property came up, and it was due to be foreclosed. There was a real short deadline to it didn't get on the market. Christy learned about it. She could and immediately she said, called all the board members and said, it was really inexpensive. I think 150,000, something like it was 180 acres. Anyway, and it had been set up to be a camp. So there was a big electric transformer already on the property. So
I remembered this precious thing, and I'm sure you that were there will remember. Bao, he came or it came to him this, I love you, Baba, I love you, 5 times. I love you, Baba, I love you, Baba, I love you, Baba, I love you, Baba, I love you, Baba. And I thought that was the best, like meditation. It's like, it was so simple, but it was 5 times. And I remember it originated through Bao. And I thought, wow, that was perfect. Yeah. Yeah.
revive it. I didn't really.
I don't know. I can't remember. I can't think that others don't remember that, because it was like in India, the East-West gathering, that rain pour. It was like, oh my God, what a great thing to say. Not just I love you, but 5 times. Wow.
Well, let me finish about what happened. So the property comes up. Christy sees it's a great deal. it hadn't gone on the market, nothing, and it needed to be, that they needed to fast come up with a decision. So she said she called all the board members of this committee, and she said, and by a miracle, they were all home. And everybody said yes, and boom, it was done. The commitment was made. I think somebody had a down payment. I can't remember.
Right.
That is absolutely incredible for a board to act that quickly.
That's true.
And that was the start of it. And Dave and I got involved quite early. He would go up there with his tractor. That was where Dave, my husband, he really came to Baba.
Yeah.
You know, Betty, it's funny that he called you Betty Lemons, because that point in your marriage where you needed lemonade, you know, and Baba provided that lemonade. Yeah. Yeah. And that time in India. Wow.
It's true. So then it was work weekends, and it was the guys, especially all the guys in the Bay Area. Maybe you remember that. Oh my gracious, it was like I remember Dave would say, "Chris needs me up there. I gotta go. I gotta go." It was like a real, and there was of course a lot of dissension and a lot of I don't think I
But
want.
it was like discovering gold in California, though. No, it was that feeling, the migration there. Oh yeah, people wanted to help with that.
Yeah. But everybody had their own ideas, and I remember it got pretty tense. And I remember Bao had to come and meet with the group and sort of go on one of Bao's trips. That so a necessary component. Karen, you have a
Yeah,
minute?
I wanted to share a few things. So I remember David's tractor, and that was so much fun. He would take the children, he would take people with their luggage that were going to stay in the meadow, and it was just a fixture, and it was part of the fun of going to Meherana. They did get that property, as Betty said, and Bao actually stayed at our house for a few times, for a few days each time. And one day the phone rang, and it was Christy Pearson. And she said to Bao, 108 acres contiguous with the Meherana property have just come on the market. What should we do? Because we could end up with neighbors and all kind of noisy, who knows what. And Bao immediately said to her, take them, get them, buy them. And they did. And so that's how the original acreage became 108. I believe that's the amount, acres even greater, because they were able to get that, the additional acres.
So the total
Those
number of
additional
acres,
acres are much flatter than the original ones. So I just wanted to interlude that.
Karen, the total number of acres is 108 acres, or
No, that was the second, I think 287. I'm not certain, but that was an additional 108 acres. And Bao was like, there was more than one phone conversation, and each time Bao said, get them, get those acres. And she did, and they worked on that. And our group, one day, Harold Jameson went for a walk, and Ron probably remembers this, in El Cerrito, and our group had been trying to get a little center for years. No one could agree on anything that might have been available. And there was this for sale sign, or for rent sign on a property on on Stockton Avenue in El Cerrito. And once Bao went to see it, we all went, a bunch of us went, and Bao gave his seal of approval. And I always felt that since Bao gave his seal of approval, our group agreed to it. And that's how our group ended up having, and continues to have, our little center in El Cerrito on Stockton Avenue. So Bao helped with that as well. Jai Baba.
Well, in India, Karen, did you call him, or did he happen to be?
No, when he was staying at our house, when he was in the Bay Area.
Oh,
Harold Jameson called and said, I was just going for a, and he wanted to talk to Bao after he spoke with us. He said, I was just going for a walk in El Cerrito, and there's a little little for sale sign. It's in between two little stores that are actually very popular in El Cerrito on Stockton Avenue, and people see Baba's picture in the window whenever they walk by. Those windows are changed periodically. But so once Harold mentioned that, there
Donna.
was a dinner in El Cerrito, I believe at Dick and Louise's at the time. And after the dinner with Barbara Brussman and others that were there, we went over to this rental property. And Bao went upstairs and looked down and said, I remember you should definitely rent this place. And so after years of looking and nothing really being right, we took this one and our group went into action, remodeling and designing. So I think Ron, of all the people here, might remember all of that.
Ron?
I do remember it. I'm not sure if that's the story I want to tell, but you reminded me of something that I connect with Bao. And that is early on when I think maybe the first time he came to the LA Sahavas, which might have been the first time he came to America, pretty sure. Before there was a Dooney, he talked about the Dooney and gave his sort of take on what the Dooney was all about and how one should approach interacting with the Dooney. And I have not swayed my thoughts about that what he said was the best way. I mean, I'm sure there's other ways that people can, figure out and be creative about the Dooney. But what he said was he felt that whatever you would put in the Dooney should be something that you would sort of you had a connection with, and you were going to give it to Baba so that every time you came in contact with that particular thing, whatever it was, you would remember Baba, and you would say, no, I'm not going to, I'm not. For me, it was this particular type of potato chips that I was addicted to. That was my first one that Bao influenced in his description. So since then, I always think of it in that way, and it really did serve, because every time I would walk by a grocery store or something, I'd see that particular type of potato chips. I would think of Baba, and can't hurt to think of Baba more. But then one of the next things that happened, I don't know how many years later, but when we were looking for this center for the Northern California group, I had been pushing that we should have a center for years.
Mm-hmm.
I had been talking about it, and it was, I'm sure everybody was getting sick of hearing me talk about it, and urging everybody to get behind this idea. And so at one of the Mehernath, or maybe it was the LA, I can't remember, one of those Doonies, I decided to put something into the Dooney. And this was a thing that I put in, which was I was going to, for 1 year, because I could limit the time. So for 1 year, I was not going to say anything about what my thoughts were about our group and the center. So I was going to be silent on anything that would come up. I wouldn't give my opinion. And not long after that came this more intense search for a place. And so I would go there and look at it or something, and so if somebody would come up to me and say, well, what do you think of that? I would just kind of ignore them because I was wanting to follow through on this idea, but I would not say anything about what I thought about the center until that year had passed. And by the time it got to be a year, that other center had been acquired And so it was acquired with me shutting up, you know, in a way, my silence added some energy into it somehow, I think. So it's very interesting, you know, sometimes instead of trying to talk people into stuff, the silence can maybe have more of an impact. But I recognize that was one of my favorite things that I ever heard from Bhau was his ideas about the Dooney.
I want to share something because someone that used to come, it lived in the Bay Area, is in hospice right now, and very painfully so. Sue Jameson. So
She died.
did she pass? When did she pass?
Yes. 2 days ago.
2 days ago. Yeah, yeah. I've been thinking of her. Yeah, but she did this wonderful imitation of Ima Sumac,
Mhm.
this Peruvian princess, and it was outrageous at Meherabad. It was really precious. It was someone that Baba enjoyed, her music, her range of singing so high, so 8 octaves or something. Anyway, Jai Baba Sue, yeah.
Yeah.
But about silence, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, I
Eva,
wanted.
what a range. There's still good recordings. You'll be astounded if you haven't heard her voice.
Ron, when you said about that
I got
silence
mad.
being in silence, Ron, it reminded me of a quote that Rosalie read this morning of a
From the new book, Here
from,
Lies
from
My
Baba
Heart.
to Anita DiCaro. And can you find it?
If I find it, I'm looking.
Yeah. But oh, geez.
The book is very precious because Anita will call Baba her daddy, and he would say he was her daddy. And anything that bothered her, she got all these notes back from Baba. And this one, because a lot of it, oh, here it is. Well, she's very vocal in these, daddy, you put me in a situation that's so unpleasant. I'm in with people that I don't get along with. Anyway, he went silent for a long time. And by the way, he was courting these young group of Baba lovers, I guess Kimco, or I don't know how far out it extended, but this real love experience, sending his love to them, and his heart aches that he can't be with them. Anyway, so Anita's Kowali complaining, I don't feel you, Baba. I love you. I don't feel you. So this is 1936, and he says to the group, my beloved ones, I knew and know how each heart felt in anxiously awaiting a personal note from Baba. But dearest mine, if you only know how, quotes, silence speaks more than words, and you would welcome such a silence 100 times more than spoken or written word. Imagine he's sending these to Anita, and she's complaining, and he's telling her how precious. It was so beautiful. And of course, the whole group was waiting. He used to send these, I guess, telegrams or maybe snail mail. It was such a experience. But for Anita, he was her daddy. And he would say, Daddy wants you to know that wherever I put you is a blessing and for your own good. And then she'd answer, but Daddy, it's so unpleasant. I feel so alone. It was real Kowali, real Western Kowali, like complain. Like me in Myrtle Beach. Why do you have me here? Anyway, the book is wonderful. I mean, speak of, I always loved that picture because she would, they would laugh together. She was one of Baba's clowns. Yeah, and he needed relief just like any of us, you know, from the work, all the work. Like, I cannot rest unless I work. When I work, that is my rest. My work is in restlessness. Meher Baba.
Thank you, Rosie. I
Baba
want
had to go through the same thing with Delia, who also, you know, in her book, she has these letters going back and forth and saying how much she wants to be with Baba. And of course, the message that he gave, and probably many times after that, was if you were with me and I wanted you to be in another place, you would be closer to me by being where I want you to be than if you were right with me right now. You're closer to me and nearer to me.
I wanted to share this little story about the center, the El Cerrito Center, that Harold actually told me, and I remember putting in the newsletter. Maybe you'll remember, Ron, that he was at the center working, and he noticed a car parked outside. And then correct me if I'm wrong on any of these details, Ron, if you know this story. And so he goes out and says, "Can I help you?" And it was I believe it was a mother and a child. And I think the mom said, "You know what? My my child." I think she wanted to know, what is this place? She said, my child had an experience. She said she saw a man in a white nightgown come fly out of here. Do you remember this, Ron? Harold told me the story.
Else, but I definitely remember hearing that and reading about it. Yeah.
Had seen a man either fly out or over, and said, "Mommy, mommy," you know, and so the lady stopped and wanted to know what the place was, and I can't remember any more of the details than that. But of course, Harold went and gave. Oh, I know. He showed a picture of Baba, and Asadra said, "Is this the man? Is this?" And I can't remember what the child said, but yeah. So that happened at the El Cerrito Center.
I used to go on Saturday morning. I would go and I'd sit at the center for about, I don't know, 4 hours and keep it open. And sometimes I'd have a little company of other Baba lovers. But as far as the open center, it was interesting. People hesitated to walk in. It was like they would look in sometimes, and there was something about it that prevented them from wanting to come in. The only people that seemed to come in were people that had a Baba card in their wallet for the last 30 years, and they hadn't, they didn't really know that much about it, but they knew they had that card in their wallet, or their brother-in-law was a Baba lover, that their cousin was a Baba lover. They would come up to the threshold and maybe take a step in, and then I'd walk over to them and hear their story of that connection. The only ones that boldly entered the center were either children or animals, or they would come in undaunted. Interesting how Baba works.
Ron, I was just reading in Erich's book. She's talking about connections, and that everything happens based on past connections. And he says nobody comes across Baba's threshold into one of his centers or what, unless there's that prior connection.
Yeah,
whatever it is. And
I agree with that.
I when I was caretaking at the center, I in a number of instances of it, people could come on because, for both just all sorts of reasons, including, gypsies staying on the center. We had a couple that was stealing electric carts and fencing them, and they were staying on the center. I came across them at one point. It's just amazing. But every one of those had some connection with Baba.
Oh, no.
Yeah, yeah. And as a matter of fact, this couple, the first time I ran into them, I was going to the evening meeting, and I was leading it. It was a celebrating divine meeting. And as I'm going through the gate, I noticed this couple with big backpacks were walking towards the gate. And so when I go out and I unlock the gate, they just are continuing walking. And I kind of indirectly, I said, "Are you looking for a shortcut to the beach?" They didn't say anything. The woman was bigger than the man. They just kept walking. And then I said, I've forgotten what the sequence, but I said, this is private property. You have to sign in or something. And nothing. Continue. I had to get to the meetings. But I continue on, and we're now probably 20, 30 yards onto the center. And the guy turned to me, and in a voice and a thing that just struck me to the core, he said, "Get out of my face." And so you can't confront anybody like that, but if somebody's trespassing, the standard thing is, we can call the police or something like that. So anyway, they continued walking, and I reported it to the caretaker. And later, after the meeting, we went looking to find them. I think they were camping between the lake and the dunes on the other side. But we had a couple other incursions. But finally, the way it resolved was, Cheryl Garnett was at the Sherryar gate, and I was caretaker. And she said, somebody just in an electric cart just crashed through the chains, and she had, first said she had seen them go on the center. So I go over there, and they came up the perimeter path, broke through the chain, and went out onto Patterson Drive. So I'm in my car, and came up. Well, they're saying, and I'm saying, well, it's a spiritual center. I can, anything can happen on a spirit, So they not only knew they knew the nature of the place, but anyway, it turned out they were trying to steal Richie Bloom's electric cart. They had another one. Anyway, but you just never know. But I'm thinking that in some ways, if they would have had a prior connection, and they certainly had more of a connection after all of this stuff they went
Wow. Boy, we have really rambled. Although Bhauji is.
through. Yeah.
Well, there's a lot going on, I would say. Truly, there's a lot going on. Yeah. Some changes in the barn and stuff, it's.
Oh, at the center. Yeah.
Actually, speaking of Bhau, I remember and this isn't a direct thing, but when he first stayed in the lantern that has the big porch, and there used to be big gatherings of.
The farm shed.
I'm sorry, the farm shed. Farm shed. Yeah, in the farm shed. And Jane, there's a rule, you don't entertain people in your cabin. I don't know exactly whether that was totally it, but she wanted him to stop having these meetings. Well, Kitty was going to the meetings as well on the porch, and they were just full. And so Bhau was told not to have these meetings on the porch. So what happened was, he's out going for a walk with a number of people, and they went by the barn, and that's when he went in the barn and then started giving talks there. But it was he was not to be deterred.
Oh, so at first was he not treated as a special guest?
Actually, no, as I understand it, he was never actually invited to the center. And he was, of course, accommodated, and people raised the funds to pay for the thing. And it was interesting.
Oh,
I don't,
wow.
I don't, those aspects I can't speak about firsthand. So I just,
Right. Oh, interesting. Yeah, I can't imagine Bhauji without an entourage. And
yeah.
an audience. And an audience. Oh, Lord. I remember I did childcare many years at Sahavas, and I could not sit through a Bhau talk without thinking. I was so I didn't want to offend him. I was so grateful to be able to say, "Oh, I'm so sorry, Bhau. I have to take duty
I
calls."
couldn't understand him either.
Yeah, that was that quality of, when he just would go. It was a hard, I always took it was more a heart experience than a head
Circuit the
experience.
mind.
And
yeah.
people going to hear a talk like they're going to,
Learn
and I remember Ed, the former priest,
Flanagan.
Ed Flanagan. He was always in the chat trying to get him with some philosophical or something, and he never gave up. But but Bhau would always just, it was amazing.
Very cool.
But another thing that Bhau would often do, he would kvetch, if that's the right word, about ward parks, or, in terms of the relationship with the Indians, Ted Jensen, it was creating like problems that they should have a more equitable funding or this, that, and the other. And he would all of a sudden get off on some thing about Ward or something about Ted. And I remember I was videoing, and at one point, some people next to me were, "Oh, wow, get off this!" Trying to, what they were kind of thinking was bad mouthing Ted, and I said, "Papa, what's going on here?" And then I had this thought, real or whatever, but I said, Bhau wasn't backbiting. He was front biting. he was demonstrating how talking of other, normally you do it behind the scenes, so it isn't a problem, but he was just putting it right out there in the front.
Wow.
That's what I thought. It was kind of like when Baba told him to keep eating, eat heartily, and then Bhau, and everybody's looking at him askance. I just love that about Bhau.
He had a wildness. I remember him, someone overweight that had a good relationship with Bhau, sitting in the front row at the meeting place, and Bhau was giving a talk, and he starts saying to this person, "You're eating too many papayas, too many mangoes, too many." And I was cringed hearing. It was a friend of mine, and I thought, "Oh my God, he's getting it right in public." Oh Lord, but sometimes a problem just needs to be aired, and yeah. And we had a very close brotherly thing with this person, so it was like a grace, but wow.
He was like a brother to everybody.
Yeah, he was like a brother. Yeah, definitely. I know this same person had framed a picture from him, personal, wonderful letter of supportive, and and it was interesting because the same person was very into 12 steps, and the Glow did a big thing about 12 steps, the latest issue. A lot of Baba lovers I know were in 12 step, and my friend felt that one of the originators of it, I forget his name, was in New York when Baba came those times, and that there was some, I don't know if we met in person, but the inspiration for this, like a spiritual way, higher power of getting over something that's going to do you in, it's a big deal. Yeah.
Yeah, more than one person has talked about that. Baba, the connection between Baba and
Yeah, but that I remember these poems I love by Chigger. Chigger, he was alcoholic, and I heard that, I thought, well, it could mean that you just have this tremendous feeling you're trying to deal with, and it kind of lays you helpless, and that's the premise of that way, But wow, it's like I think a lot of us, probably all of us, are dealing with old stuff in us because as Baba's manifesting, it's the grace. It can be flushed away. This old stuff can go that we've held on to. However, we think we're not holding on, but we are. It's like so subconscious. So it's a tremendous time of grace. And I have this thing that I say, Baba's manifesting. He said he would, and he is. He never said it would be easy. that I never heard him say it would be easy. Yeah. Tremendous, the manifestation, tremendous. And he's sealing, he's the seventh seal of the avatars. This is no ordinary Advent. This is mega. Yeah.
The North Advent could be ordinary.
No, extraordinary. It's extraordinary change is happening right under our noses. And what do we nose? Not much.
I wonder.
And what was it like having Bhau for several days in your home?
We weren't the proprietors then. It was, I would have been. I'm probably had a heart. I would have been a nervous wreck. Oh my gracious, the preparation that went on before but a special guest like Bal. Look, it was Jim and Jean Wilson who their home, but everybody was on high alert, cleaning and
Yeah.
Lord, yeah, it was yeah.
But Aaron, didn't Bal stay with you? And
Yes.
yeah.
Oh yeah. How did you fare?
It was wonderful and a lot of fun, and we had a tremendous amount of help,
Wow.
led by Barbara Brussman, or Mother B, as
All
Bal called her.
right.
How is she doing? I haven't
Quite
been-
well.
Good.
Great.
Yeah,
Oh,
we were quite fortunate, and it was lovely to have Bal with us. So
Yeah.
great memories.
well, you are the perfect person, Karen, to yeah. For one thing, you don't you use, that's not the right word. You have a group, but you know how to work with the group and get help, and yeah, you were the
Well,
perfect.
the help just came every day at noon at like 11:45. Marlene, who is the cook, people would come to her house in the morning and they'd make lunch and
Wow.
dinner, and they'd come over and like clockwork, and everything was always set out. There was never, and that we had people starting at 6 at our house. We had so many people, and the Wilsons came too. I think the first time Jean Wilson came with Joanna Tompkins.
Mhm.
So help was not an issue because it was always available. It was so amazing. So it was a real treat.
Yeah. Mhm.
Wow. Yeah. Wherever Amandali goes, I mean, it's change.
Energy, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, really? And remember Meru coming? She flew over a volcano in Hawaii. Yeah, they got her a flight over the volcano. She was quite an adventuresome spirit.
Yeah.
Meru, yeah, yeah. And so Baba's so disciplined, just the beauty of Meru. Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I
You
don't.
you picture all the mandali getting along, or because each one is so much the way they are. You know, it's beautiful, but imagine them, Baba. You know, it'd have to be Christ to
Uh-huh.
have all these people with these strong, whatever they were. You don't mix up Mandali. You don't mix up Balna too with Bhau, Kalchuri, or Padre with Adi. You don't mix them up. They are what they are. So beautiful with Baba. It shows the masterful master. It has to be the top to get these uh, quality of souls of human beings together. Wow.
They had to have a lifetime to kind of learn to, interact smoothly, I imagine.
Certainly lifetimes.
Yeah.
But who knows? There may be a fast track for some. It's not the same for everyone. And I would say, they say, oh, how many lifetimes to get there? And I say, they say, how long? And I says, no, with Baba, it's longing.
Mhm.
It's longing, not how long does it take? Longing, it takes longing. And Darwin used to say that in intense longing. And what did he say? Incredible discipline and intense longing, and it's like, it's not just a set number of lifetimes, or, I just, no.
Yeah, I guess we'll all be there sometime in the future.
Well, I have to share this one because it's so current. Don't worry about anything for Meher Baba. So long as you all really love me, you are all the very, very lucky few in the present human generation. Love me always and be sure of me and eternal happiness. That's very current in my thoughts right now with the manifestation. I think, wow, we're so lucky. If you didn't know that things were being changed and made right, it would be a scary time, you know.
Where did that come from, Rosalie?
Baba, Meher Baba.
Is it part of that's lovely. Ah,
Yeah, I don't go source usually. If I hear it and it's Baba, I make sure I get it right. But
You don't have the reference you mean.
I don't have a reference to it. But that I wrote it down special in indelible ink. Yeah. And it spoke to me. Like Baba speaks to me, it's like, and it's so precious. And this other one I love, it says, hold on to my demand. Remember that I love you so that you can reflect my love. Now, a lot of times I don't feel like I love Baba. He's part of my life, but I might get depressed or angry, and all of a sudden I don't feel I love him. It's like, it's the marriage changes. And it goes, hold on to my demand. Remember that I love you so that you can reflect my love. Be loving towards all. Be honest, simple, natural, childlike. I like the childlike because I think I'm just learning. I'm a child. I'll get it right. I'll get it right.
well, folks, I think I don't have a clock. I don't know how long we've been, but it feels like it's maybe a nice The audience is sort of slowly dwindling. It's probably time.
A delightful airing.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah. And it was wonderful, you know. And I remember Monty saying, she liked that song, "Those were the days, my friend." And she says, these may be the good old days. And of course, for them it was the good old days, but was it not painful? Yes, it was painful. Like Eric says, being with Baba was not fun, but it was full of joy.
That quote that Rosalie read is from at least one place, Lord Mayher online, page 2782.
2782 online.
You come up with that, isn't it? 2782.
2782.
Online.
Well, yeah, that's great. Okay.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Rosalie's beautiful handwriting. That would be that would be a bonus. That was so pretty, Rosalie.
Yeah. Just treasures, so many treasures. Plus the mystical language that I always have to say, oneness is rest in being. The only being is God. You and I are not we, but one. Yeah. And I love that it is rest because it's not like an effort. You have to be yourself. And we think it's an effort, but you know, we have all the time in the world to get it. You know? Wow.
Ralph, you just showed up. Anybody else want to say a final thing before we
Ralph, what say you?
say you? This
Yeah.
has been
Hey, I got a watermelon story for Rosie.
Oh, good.
For everyone, but every time now, I don't know what you say, like Ron was telling about how he had a particular potato chip that he
Oh, I love that.
partially bended potato chip that he put in the dooney. So when he goes to the grocery store, I too had that experience. I put a food item. And then I thought, now that was stupid. That was really, I didn't really think that through. Because unlike, if you say potato chip, you say, well, you quit potatoes altogether. No, but Ron was smart. He put it in the can, whatever it is, chip it was.
Yeah. Well, you know that
Also, he
watermelon.
told a story about being depressed. I mean, really, really heartbroken over things, the way things were going for her at Meherabad and Meherabad.
Who was that? Who was that?
You were really upset.
When Monty
and
gave me the
heart-
watermelon.
Yeah, your heart was down because
Oh my God.
somebody was not allowing you to participate
I was shut
in
out big time.
in a big play, and you felt you were really at,
I was devastated.
you were
And
there.
I seldom cry. And when I went into Baba's room, I wept and wept. You know, it was like I wasn't even thinking I'm crying. It was like from my depths. And so I was so embarrassed. I skirted Meherabad. I don't want anyone to see me because I thought I must look wretched. And I got on the funky bus. You had to enter the back, and it had a cage between you and the driver. And I got on early, and I sat there with a body scarf, like one of those, they're cremation scarves, but we'd use them for our necks. And I'm like this, and it's brown. And Monty sees me. It's when I used to say goodbye, they'd come out to the bus. And she came and she says, who is that? Who is that shrouded there? And she's undeniable, Monty. I mean, it's Monty. And I turned to her looking wretched with my cremation scarf, and she says, oh, and she says, who is that shrouded there? I turned to her and she says, oh, come on now, Rosalie, with her beautiful face. It was radiant. Come on, give me that big. She held her cheeks with this unbelievable, beautiful face and says, give me that big watermelon smile. And then I've always related to being a clown. I was wretched when she said that. I felt like I was in a giant hall, like marble, all alone, wretched, and I'm feeling sorry for myself. Horrible. And then she says, in the perfect way, she was headed for perfection. And she says, but Rosalie, he loves you. What more do you want? And I went, I felt about as loved as a cockroach that had just been stepped on, but I still remember that. That's my watermelon story. Because I love watermelon. It's a happy thing. Yeah, watermelon. And the other thing was Lois singing for Mara the watermelon song. And it's a song that black people know, watermelon. It says, you can plant a watermelon right above my grave and let the juice run through. You can plant a watermelon right above my grave. That's all I ask of you. Now a chicken or a possum might taste mighty fine, but nothing tastes better than the watermelon rind. I mean, that was precious. I saw her do it for Mara. You share your life with Mara. I always.
And Lois Brager did that song?
No.
Lois, the wonderful black.
Lois Blanche.
Oh, yeah.
Lois Jones.
Yeah.
I can't remember her name even. We were good friends. What's her last name? Jones?
Jones.
Jones, yeah. Lois Jones. And then one time Mara spilled tea on her dress and she never washed it.
Oh.
It was a beautiful dress, but it was precious.
Wow.
You could see that female God drawing the person out.
Yeah.
It's hard being black. It's just hard, depending on what era you're in. For her, it was very hard. As a friend, and I thought, what would it be like to be black? Why did Baba stand up in Myrtle Beach in the barn whenever a black person? Why did he go into as fair skinned as he was, into the black only bathrooms? Yeah. It's just precious, the work done. Yeah.
Okay, then.
Thanks, Betty.
Thank you, Betty. Yeah.
It's been fun.
We've been making lemonade.
I won't force my watermelon tail on you because it is
We like it. We like it.
the source of all watermelon stories has been retold again.
Oh, no, we like it, Ralph.
Mistress Dumpy, thank you, darling.
Mama, no, you tell a tale. You tell a tale of Baba, Ralph Jackson.
Tell it quick, Ralph.
Tell it. We want to hear it. Tell it in the style.
I was late. I had baby chicks hatching. And it was time for them to go to their house, and their house wasn't ready. water was, the floor was too moist. So to keep them healthy and vigorous, I put watermelon in with them in their hatching baskets. And that wouldn't you couldn't do that for very long, sustained period of time, but we did it for a few hours and they went after that watermelon. But it was not a real high quality water. It was not the best watermelon by any means, but it was adequate. It had moisture and it had some sweetness, but it wasn't.
Pacifier.
It was from A to F is about a D. No, a C, maybe a C, yeah. C, D, E, F. Come on. We put the birds, went to their house last night. This at 4 a.m. We put
Oh,
them
wow.
in.
Oh my gosh. You were
Is this just
Watermelon at
recently?
4 a.m.
oh, you're working too hard, Ralph.
Wow. Well,
We
it's
had a
really
big-
like being a mother.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Being a mother, wow.
Yeah.
But how did you put that watermelon in? Did you cut it out of its?
Yeah, I cut it
Okay.
in
Because
the
it gets
trunk, in the
messy
trunk
too.
and left a little rind on it for support
Wow.
and weight and put piece chunks in the hatching baskets and
Wow.
yeah, they
Yeah.
found it.
They love
That's pretty ingenious, Ralph.
So they
Yeah.
get good. A watermelon makes me feel so great. It must
Yeah.
have electrolyte value must be high, and the moisture is certainly there. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that's the issue with them staying too long. They got no nutrients and they get
That's true.
starved and starve. Yeah.
They would start detoxing.
Yeah.
Watermelon is a detox. Yeah.
Detox too. Yeah.
I went to Pune one time and I had juiced watermelon juice. I went
Oh.
to Janaki. Oh, I was in heaven because I would never think to take anything that wasn't careful in India. Yeah, but a watermelon is sealed off,
In 71, I went and spent most of my time with John Leiter and Charles Haynes
Ah,
up in the same room at Villa Villa, and we went together to Meherabad and Meherabad, and it was time to go. And John and I left about the same time, but for some reason they flew into Delhi, or he did, and he flew out by Delhi, and I did Bombay. So usually I would go stay. Somehow Nargis Dadachanji kind of
yeah.
adopted, took me under her wing. She always had to come and stay at their apartment there. And I slept in the father's room. I always forget his name, but he was a building contractor and he was very helpful with Pindu building the tomb. And he knew how to find like to build the dome. They had to go find somebody from Rajasthan where they know how to build domes at Rajasthan, I guess. And it was his bedroom where I slept. Well, I would start feeling so sick, wretched. Turned out I had hepatitis. And I went ahead and there, yeah. But I was there 2 or 3 days, it seemed. And I had no appetite. I felt terrible, but I hadn't jaundice. And she got Arnava's attention on me.
Oh,
I went and got Marwan, who was in medical school, and Marwan Mystery. He was
mystery, yeah.
now he's already been a big surgeon and everything, retired. So uh,
You were,
Meherabad came and looked at me. He said, "How do you feel?" I said, "I feel terrible." I said, "I'm having a hard time going to the bathroom." And I mean, to having stools. And he said, he looked at my eyes and he said, "Well,
yellow.
it isn't your eye. You're not jaundiced. There's no jaundice.
Oh,
No, everything. I don't think it's hepatitis. Otherwise,
oh,
you have symptoms like that." I said, but it just took some time before I turned really yellow. And
oh,
then I remembered they tried to get me, Nargis kept trying to get me to eat. But my big solace was there's Zoroastrian, they had that flame right there beside the bed,
Oh, wow.
what was it?
little device, the Zoroastrians always keep a fire going
Oh,
in the home, I think. And they had that, it was beside my bed.
wow.
And then the father of it was the father of
Nargis?
Chanji.
Oh,
The bedroom, it was the bedroom of the father of Chanji. At least that's what Nargis told me. And
oh,
he put up here, at the top of the wall, right against the ceiling, all the way around four sides of the room, 101 names of God.
wow.
All around, and they went this whole around all four walls. And I'd sit there and look at those names and feel wretched. And then
Oh,
then I remember Rano came for a visit. She may have been on her way to see Francis because they were trying to get Francis to give all that. They didn't think Francis ought to be doing all that he ought to stay in India with them. And
what to do all what? Francis.
to do the work in the Baba Center. And well, he had already built the Baba house.
Right, right.
He was continuing to do the manual labor, hard
Wow.
work, on his
Yeah,
own.
yeah.
Ronald went to Australia too, and I don't think that was the occasion.
Wow.
She came for the docs. She came for some reason, maybe visa. I don't know. It, I know she returned to Meherabad though. She didn't go to Australia. And Arnavaz and Nargis would get together for tea and things. And on this day, I got up and I went in the living room.
Aren't they sisters? Aren't they
Yeah.
sisters? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And then there's the dining room connects to the living room. And they had a big, good looking red watermelon. And cutting the pulp out into chunks and putting it in what's that called? Tule?
Cheesecloth, maybe, to strain it? Yep.
Stronger than cheesecloth.
Oh,
And they
oh,
were squeezing the water out into bowl from
Uh-huh.
wow.
have some of this watermelon juice. And I really didn't want it, but I did take a small glass and I remember it still tasted good.
Yeah.
Your liver, what hepatitis is the
Oh,
liver,
oh, yeah.
bile gets in, and the idea of eating is nauseous, not
My
terrible,
God.
terrible thought. Yeah.
So how long were you there, Ralph?
2 or 3 days, I think.
Is
I
that all?
was there a little while for my flight, and they said,
Oh, you flew with your hepatitis.
yeah, they said, you better let us take you to the hospital. You got no business getting on the plane.
Oh,
And I got to thinking like home and
oh,
I'd rather be dead. Well, I had to fly to Germany. I had to fly to Germany and book another flight.
Oh
and
my
spend
God.
time in the town where I'd been living in Germany in the army, with the army. And they put me in the army hospital, and
Oh,
Baba took care of me.
wow. Wow, Ralph. Wow.
I stayed in a Catholic seminary for a day
Oh,
or two, where I had met across from the army hospital was a Catholic seminary.
wow.
Mission of Father Francis Banner, who was an African missionary and considered a saint of some note.
What order? Do you remember order? What order was
He
he?
was an Francis Banner was an order, yeah.
Oh, I mean,
He was
Franciscan order. Franciscan?
Saint Francis of Assisi.
Okay, Franciscan. Yeah.
He was his own. I think Francis, Pfanner, Francis Fanner. I may be wrong, but this one priest put a room up because there were a lot of Americans, tourists, and it started a room. This was to me, it was a wonderful place. It had a huge kitchen, which really caught my fancy. And the nuns cooked the most wonderful, and baked. They baked the most wonderful breads.
Oh my God.
I remember I told him about Baba. This man talked about Jesus with
Oh,
much love, from the heart.
yeah. Wow,
John,
wow.
Father Barnabas.
So
John,
did you stay there? Were
I
you
did.
stay?
Well, I was acquainted with the place, and before I got out of the army,
Ah,
I said, "Can I tell people about Bob?" I said, "I'd like to play a tape by this man. It's a very good tape and a good introduction to Mayor Baba through a talk by a man named Darwin Shaw."
wow.
He listened to the tape, says, "You can play it."
Oh my gosh.
You could feel the love.
Oh,
Love just jumped right out of the tape.
wow.
And people came and listened to the tape. And they
Oh my gosh. You know, Darwin carried, I remember when I heard his voice first in Berkeley at Meherabad,
yeah,
I teared up because I felt Baba so strongly.
yeah.
Yeah. And his voice. Wow.
Amongst the people there was American Paul Hurley.
I remember him. Yeah. We have Maureen Hurley here. She passed away, but she was married to him. And there's a daughter too that is up in Pennsylvania. Yeah.
And
Maureen Hurley.
I don't know what became of Paul.
He
When
passed away.
Paul passed away.
Yeah.
How do you know anything of it?
Well, I pretty clearly remember because Maureen passed away maybe a couple of years, 2 or 3 years ago. And she used to see her daughter. They had one child. And I think the daughter might have been raised by the father. You know how those things go when that marriage breaks up. But I never met Paul Hurley, but I'm pretty sure. I don't want to spread a rumor of
he would go to Baba's house. I know he'd go to Baba. I would see it.
I think I would have. I was friends with Maureen. I would have been aware if I heard the name. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, it's good to even hear these names. I think of that with Sue. I mean, I tell you, her Baba story is on YouTube. Sue Jameson, well, her name before was Fowler, Fowler. And her story is beautiful.
Oh,
as every one of the stories is. But I saw it pretty recently because I loved her, didn't spend much time with her, but you know, you just have a love for someone. And so I just heard she passed this morning from Karen Talbot
About 2 days ago.
2 days ago. But you know, I just heard it. And so I think Rainey was good
Rainey.
friends with her. Yeah. So she probably went to Australia because she was in hospice and, you know, it was getting close. She was
Sue
waiting for her friend Sue.
was in
Sue,
Australia.
Sue waited for her children to both come. And she did this thing that I never heard. It was called chemo. She did chemo, hospice chemo, which is even more painful than chemo. So she could hold off dying till she saw her children. And those children, I have a picture of them with Bhau, and I'm in my clown outfit at Mehernath. It brought it all up today, and then her being doing a spoof of Ema Sumac, which was wow, it was just great, yeah.
Very cool.
And Jenny
Yeah.
Zenner, Jenny Williams, you know her, she worked so long at
Of course,
Yoruba.
I knew Jenny from Atlanta.
Yes, Jenny. Sue made a special trip out when Jenny was kind of like in hospice. She was at home, but it was hospice. Yeah, they were close. And Jenny, when Jenny lived in the San Francisco Bay Area, she lived under their house in an apartment, an underground, and they called it, they were all Scorpios. Harold Jameson, Sue, Luke, and what's the other one's name?
Jake.
What is it?
Jake.
Jake, yeah. So anyway, I think they all got to see her before, but she held off. And I think the intensity of strength, I mean, I'm such a pain chicken. I never wanted chemo, you know, I think it's just horrible. But she did this hospice chemo, and I thought, and when I heard it's worse than regular chemo, I went, oh, you know, I'm not very brave. But she was a mother, you know, it's just